Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about this concept of well-being being in proportionate to the ability for you to connect with your resonance. So we all know what resonance means, but I'm really finding for myself over the last several years that it's the quality of our relationships in life that matter most. And who do we have relationship with? Everybody. We have relationship with everybody. Family, partners, children, grandparents, friends, coworkers, bosses, people on the street. Two people interacting is a relationship. So the quality in what we tolerate in our relationship dynamics is so important for a quality of true authentic well-being in life, especially with what seems to be added and multiplying stressors on an almost day-to-day basis. So I want you guys just to think about really quickly this concept of resonance and what that actually means and how many relationships you have in your life where you've felt that deep primordial connection where there's resonance. Almost a resonance that doesn't even need words, a resonance where you don't necessarily even have to have known the person for a long time, right? It could develop, but sometimes you meet somebody on the street. I just met this young gentleman who's a yoga teacher at a studio that I'm going to here in Houston, and he's very different from me, but right away when we started talking, there was just this, you want to call it a soul connection or a resonance. It just was like, I see you. I know that you've been through some challenging things or specific circumstances that I can relate to deeply. And I'm not judging you for that. I'm connecting with you in that invisible space of I see you. And it's just such a beautiful, powerful dynamic. When you guys come across these people, they're gifts, they're treasures, right? They really are, because even some of the people that we hold closest in our life, we do not experience that deep resonance with. It's more complex. It's more of a challenge to be in a relationship with certain people. We all know this. And I definitely have this in my life where it challenges my ability to remain really compassionate and loving when, people are doing things that I find personally are against my values or things that seem to me that they're harming their own self with the choices that they're making. Everybody has their own life to live and works with their own God of their own understanding, if that's what they so choose to believe in. So learning the spiritual path of learning to stay in your own lane and leading by modeling and exempling and recognizing everyone as a piece of us and not separate is a really good way to start to help in staying connected with people, even when the relationship requires a lot of work. And then there also has to be a discernment, a really true discernment of particular relationships that are not healthy for you. And one thing that I decided I was going to do many years ago, because I had one or two very close relationships in my life with family members where it was just a constant challenge and really draining on me, on my nervous system. And what I realized was there were so many times where I would say, all right, that's it. I just can't communicate with this person anymore. It's that detrimental to my well-being. But what I learned as I matured and I grew into a deeper sense of my own spirituality was that I always wanted to leave the door slightly cracked in case the dynamic between the two of us, the energy shifted and it became something healthy, because that does happen very often if you can just leave that space. Some of you may disagree, and definitely even if you leave that space, maybe it is the termination of the relationship and both of you know that. But for me, I get to release and surrender to any grudges or any feelings of negativity when I just realize that that particular resonance or relationship or connection was very stressed and unhealthy for maybe both sides, and to look at the connection from both sides, from both parties, as an amalgamation of energy between us. So I don't necessarily say, well, this person is bad for me, or you're bad for this, or he's bad for her. Or I just look at it as the energy between us and what's playing out in the energy between the unit. It's very easy for us to point fingers and to blame. And, principle 101 of self-awareness and being on this spiritual development path is to, whenever you want to blame, is to always make sure that you're looking back at yourself, because the problem truly deeply resides within you, and why you're having that interaction and what it's bringing out within you, some sort of, hidden deeper traumas that's irritating you about that person. So there's always a sense of true deep self-accountability when we're maturing along our spiritual practice, when we want to blame someone else, to really say, okay, I'm choosing to be around this. Why is that? What are they bringing up within me? Is it reminding me or reminiscent of a childhood trauma or something out of the sorts? So being accountable. But you are a part of an energy dynamic in relationship. And resonance has a word. It's a word, obviously, but it's a feeling. It's not a thought, really. It's maybe the thought is, wow, like this is a really unusual soul connection, or we're really clicking, or wow, you seem familiar to me, or have I met you before? That's resonance. And I really want you just to consider, who are you in resonance with? And you don't have to sacrifice that resonance. You don't have to work in environments that are really toxic for you. This is really the case with a lot of the clients that I have and people that we see, is that they feel stuck in relationship, or they feel stuck because they've been told that that's not how you interact with family or bosses, or it's supposed to be narcissistic, hierarchical, or what have you. That's not the case. It's not going to help you with your well-being, and it's going to harm you in the long run. It's not good for survival. If you're constantly putting yourself in a fight or flight and have this cognitive dissonance that you know that this is bad for you, but you keep doing it because someone else somewhere says you were supposed to. So how many relationships do you have where you truly feel in resonance with people? I will be very honest with you. I lost a lot of people in my life when I really started to tune into what I needed, and to hold myself accountable in each interaction, and to speak from my heart and not hold back who I was for anybody. And that's triggering for some people, especially if, like me, you had been brought up or conditioned maybe by your childhood to change who you are, to fit in, to change who you are, to be more popular or liked, or to not have conflict. So it's a little more challenging when you decide, hey, I just have to naturally be me and let flow what needs to flow. And however you perceive that, that's on you. I don't need you to approve of how I feel, right? We're not perfect, and sometimes we make mistakes, but it's better to not change yourself, not deform yourself for anything outside of you. The best, most highest reality you can live amongst within yourself is one where you're just authentic and you're not even really thinking before you speak. And I know sounds counterintuitive, but once you start developing that self-awareness and you start to know yourself, you can fall back into your intuitive mind, where you can speak in a flowing way. And maybe sometimes things that come out surprise you a little bit, and that's okay if that's truly how you feel and it's coming from a heart-based place. The think before you speak motto obviously has to do with you are reacting and not responding. You may not have done a level of self-awareness work where you trust to flow in how you speak. And that comes and that develops the more you internalize and seek within and work on healing these things. And how you begin to do that is just very simply with your day-to-day reactions, your conversations, your relationships. Start being your own best advocate. You being your own best advocate and being you fully is the highest way you can serve in any position or what you do, or with any family member, or with any lover, or any friend, that you could. It's the greatest gift you can offer, is to just truly be yourself. And the beauty of that is very often when you're just speaking from your heart. And that doesn't mean that there's no logic involved. You can have wisdom with your speaking from your heart and love, people feel that. They either resonate with that, and you can see they kind of go right into their heart space as well. And then you're speaking from this energetic space of trust and love and non-judgment, which is the most efficient way to be with anybody. So yeah, just think about it. This is really something that I've been thinking about for a while. We're going to actually be writing some conceptual frameworks for regenerating healthcare on this concept of resonance, especially in healthcare. One thing that's so interesting is you don't really get to choose very often your doctor or your healthcare team. Sometimes you do. Very often you're assigned, or you just pick somebody, and sometimes the relationship isn't really healthy, and sometimes you need to make the courageous decision to interview your doctor, or to say, hey, we're not really in resonance here, and I need to find someone else who I can really fully be myself with. And that's the greatest gift that we can offer, especially in today's day and age where we are so desperately wanting to be seen, heard, and loved and valued in the things that we do just to get a little bit of recognition or a like. Who cares? Who cares? You got to get to the point where you care about yourself and humanity so much that you don't. Care so much that you don't. It's just how it has to be, or you're constantly altering yourself and in dissonance, seeking outside for something that you can find meaning in. Your meaning comes from knowing who you are first, and then just being that person and seeing what shows up in the outer world, not the vice versa. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.